A journey from the dark. It had been an unusually quiet afternoon for John, the cab driver. His shift had been dragging on with just a few short trips around the city, and he was ready to call it a day when his dispatcher sent him one last ride, an hour-long trip to the outskirts, dropping a woman off at her family's home. A long drive meant a decent fare, so John accepted it with a sigh, hoping the passenger would be quiet and not too chatty. When he pulled up, the woman was standing on the sidewalk, her face tilted slightly upward, as if soaking in the last bit of daylight. She had a bright smile, almost too bright, and hopped into the back seat with a carefree energy that immediately made John a little cautious. John puts her bag in the trunk and got in the driver's seat. "Where are we headed?" he asked, glancing at her through the rearview mirror. She gave him a paper with the address, and, as they pulled away, she immediately turned to the window, her eyes wide as she gazed outside. "Amazing," she whispered. John smiled to himself. He'd heard that before, a common reaction for tourists, maybe someone new to the area. As they drove, though, her fascination didn't let up. She commented on everything. "Look at those trees, how tall and majestic. And the leaves, they're shimmering like gold in the light. Isn't that incredible?" she said, almost breathless. "Yeah, they're nice," John replied, trying to make small talk. "Oh, and those flowers by the sidewalk. The petals are so vibrant. They look like tiny bursts of sunshine. Amazing!" John nodded, his smile thinning a bit. Okay, maybe she was a nature lover. But as the drive stretched on, her constant observations became increasingly strange. "Those clouds, don't they look like giant marshmallows? I could just reach out and touch them. Amazing!" She giggled. John gave her a sidelong glance, unsure how to respond. She was laughing now, not just at the clouds, but at everything. "Look at that house. Oh my God, the way the chimney is slightly crooked, it looks like a hat tipped to the side." Hilarious. He chuckled awkwardly, but the laughter didn't stop. She made another comment about a water puddle reflecting the sky, as if she'd never seen such a thing before, and John's patience began to wear thin. He tried to change the subject. "So, visiting family, huh? Must be nice to spend time with them." "Yes," she answered, not taking her eyes off the window. "But look at those birds. They're having a conversation, I swear. Amazing." John bit his tongue, forcing himself to stay polite. The woman didn't seem dangerous, but her constant chatter was becoming unbearably. Every little thing, trees, birds, people on bikes, the cracks in the sidewalk, seemed to fascinate her to the point of hysteria. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they turned onto the street where her family's house was. John exhaled, relieved the trip was nearly over. "Which house is it?" he asked, glancing back. The woman hesitated, still peering out the window. "I don't know which one is it exact, but I was told the fence has a picket that's broken, and there's a big tree right next to it." John scanned the street and finally spotted a fence with a broken picket. That had to be it. "Found it," he muttered, pulling over. Just as he was about to drive into the driveway, she stopped him. "Wait! Don't pull all the way in yet." She hopped out of the car and began laughing again, looking around as if she were seeing the world for the first time. "Look at that tree! It's massive! Can you imagine sitting in that window just staring at it? Amazing!" John clenched his jaw, his irritation growing. All he wanted was to get paid and get out of there. But she wouldn't stop talking. She seemed to be in her own world, oblivious to how strange and exhausting her behavior was. He popped open the trunk and retrieved her bag, about to snap when she continued giggling to herself. "Here's your bag," he said, walking over, barely containing his frustration. She turned to him, eyes sparkling with joy. "Oh, thank you," she said, rushing toward him. Then, in one swift motion, she unzipped her bag and pulled out a pair of dark sunglasses and a white cane, the kind used by the blind. John froze, confusion washing over him. She burst out laughing as she handed him some cash. "Is this enough?" she said. "It's more than enough, thank you," he said. John then noticed her wiping her tears. She looked at him and said, "Just watch now. My family is going to freak out. They don't know yet, I had surgery and got my sight back." Suddenly, John's irritation melted away. John stood there, his frustration dissolving as the reality of the situation sank in. She wasn't crazy. She was someone seeing the world again, maybe for the first time in years. Every cloud, every tree, every crack in the sidewalk was, in fact, amazing to her. The woman slipped on her dark shades, still grinning from ear to ear. "I've been waiting for this moment for so long," she said, her voice soft now, almost reverent. John watched as she took a deep breath, her joy infectious. He couldn't help but smile, feeling a pang of guilt for how annoyed he had been. She wasn't just appreciating the world, she was rediscovering it, piece by piece. John watched as a man and woman stepped out, likely her parents. They squinted toward the cab, their confusion evident as they tried to make sense of their daughter standing outside. She started waving at them with glee, then jogged over to them. He could hear her voice trembling with excitement. "Surprise!" she called out, laughing. "I can see you! I can see you! I can see you! I can see everything!" The parents froze, shock and disbelief crossing their faces before they rushed toward her, engulfing her in a tearful embrace. The three of them stood there, holding each other, their cries of joy filling the air. It was a reunion that John would never forget. He quietly placed her bag down on the sidewalk and made his way back to the cab, feeling like an intruder in this intimate family moment. As he climbed into the driver's seat, he glanced back one more time. He realized now that he hadn't just given her a ride. He'd been part of something much bigger, a journey not just from one place to another, but from darkness to light. As he pulled away, he found himself looking at the world outside his window a little differently. The clouds, the trees were amazing after all. The end.